Good afternoon, everyone, and hello again. This is Zenzi Sewa. I am here in London, and my guest today is Ibeth. I hope I've said that again. Ibeth Ayala, and she is a life design facilitator. Ibeth, where exactly are you based? Because she's in America, but my guess, I just had one from Poland. So whereabouts in America are you based?
Hi, hello, everyone. Yes, so before I continue, you said my name right, and thank you so much for having me over. So I'm currently living in Canada, in Ontario, in
Oh,
Southern Ontario to be precise.
lovely. Because I like my guests to know that our experiences are not just in one area, it's all over the world. People are all over and they're going through, and we're no different from anybody else, and we're here to share our journey. So please go ahead from Canada. How
Hello,
many hours?
hello.
You're behind time. When I say behind time, you're behind London time. What is the time in Canada?
So right now it's 11:30 in the morning.
Okay, so it's here 4:30, so you're 5 hours behind. So it's a time difference. So good morning to you. Good afternoon to me. Please
Good
go
morning,
ahead.
good afternoon, good day. Yeah, so thank you again for having me here. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here and to share. You and I had a brief conversation about life and how interesting it is that no matter where we live, as human beings, we're experiencing different things, and that's part of why I'm here. Part of what called me to connect with you and have this conversation. So yeah, so my name is Ibeth Ayala. I'm originally from Mexico. I was born and raised in Mexico. I later moved to the U.S. and I lived in the U.S. for a few years, and I later moved to Germany. I then moved to England in the UK, and now I'm in Canada. So I moved around quite a bit. Moving around has allowed me to experience myself in different ways. It's, yes, of course, the countries there, the people there, the different cultures, but I'm more focused on what does that mean for me and what does that tell me. And it has allowed me to connect to different parts of myself and really hone into what it is that I want to do in this world, what it is that I want to contribute to this world. And in summation, it was always to be of service somehow. So as a result, now my big focus is life design coaching or life design facilitation and innovation coaching in the corporate world. So those are the two things that I play with right now.
Okay, so at present, this is what you're doing, but how did you get there? What was the journey? What
Yeah.
drove you to this person you are today?
I'm so grateful, and I wanted you to ask the question specific just to ground, the listeners into what I'm about to say, because my story, like many of us, has some interesting experiences. And, we talked about spirituality and what that means, and we all experience it at different times in our lives, and we all call it differently. Some people call it their awakening. Some people, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he said, yeah, my spiritual thing, and someone else called it, an awakening, and someone else is like my awareness. So whatever the word is, it's more that shift, something that happened that, in my perspective, in my words, is something that happened that reminded me of who I am and why I'm here.
Yeah.
And for me, as we were talking a little bit ago, I was 5 years old when I experienced an intense moment that, yes, it can be seen as traumatic, but I saw it more as a moment where I started reflecting on myself and paying attention to what does this mean and why is this happening. I was sexually abused when I was 5, the first time. And as a 5-year-old, I still go back to that moment and I remember seeing, this little girl wondering what is happening because this doesn't feel right. It's not hurting, but it doesn't feel right. And there was that first moment of awareness. And when I look back into my life, I see it as that was an experience that shook me to my core, to where I had to pay attention to something is not off. There was no one else there to protect me. There was no one else there to say to this person, hey, don't do that. It was only a
Mm,
5-year-old human feeling something that felt off, not knowing how to word it, but paying more attention to what is moving in my heart, what is moving in my space. So from then on, I started having these interesting dreams about the beginning of the world. I started seeing little shooting stars that would come down from the sky. I would start seeing butterflies that would come through, the sky just to move around. And, as a 5, 6-year-old, I would wake up thinking these are interesting dreams, but they're not a dream. They're something else. Like I've been to these places. So ever since I was little, I've had these experiences of there's something else out there. And I
mm,
felt a little awkward. So for all of you out there that are like, I'm feeling a little weird, don't worry, you're not alone. I felt it too. I felt awkward and like, this is kind of weird. And as I went older, I was 10 years old when I was molested again by someone else. I became aware that, okay, this happens, but this isn't about me. This is about these people and what they're doing. But what do I do with that? And I started to realize this polarity that even though people say it doesn't exist, there is. There's an experience of good, there's an experience of bad, there's an experience of like, this feels comfortable and this feels uncomfortable. And I started experiencing that. And it was very interesting and fascinating that as a child, I was experiencing those things and not knowing where to go and who to talk to because it's kind of confusing. It's like, is it really happening? Because why would people do that? And I think, in my perspective, as energy, as spirit, we come from such a place of love, from such a
yes,
place of goodness, from such a place
yes,
of doing magical things in this experience, that when we
yes.
experience those moments, it's like, wait, is this real? Like, is this really happening?
Yeah. It doesn't. It
And
doesn't.
no, there's
No.
something that just doesn't feel. And
Offline.
then, yeah, yeah, because we just, I remember thinking, okay, this is happening, and it was happening in a pool. So the options I had was to get away from this person and drown because I didn't know how to swim, or just let it happen. And as a 10-year-old, I still remember thinking, well, I'll just let it happen, and then I won't think about it and it'll go away. And to this day, I'm still working on swimming. There's still that part of myself that's working on trusting myself in the water. And I can tell these stories in a calm way, and I can tell these stories without emotions of suffering or shame because I don't have that. I've done a lot of work. I've done therapy. I've worked with indigenous people to remember how to manage, those emotions, how to clear them. I work with music. I like drumming, whether it's a djembe or a hand drum or any type of music. I shakers. So all of those things that I do, I choose to do them to help me move through these things. So
Mm,
at 15 or 16, I was 16 when I was raped the first time. I was 19 when I was raped again by someone else. And these were guys that I was dating. These were guys that I knew. So it was really interesting because then I went through the whole process of I trusted these guys and then that happened. And then moving through the whole experience of I didn't do anything wrong. Because some people will say, well, you went there. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter what you wear. It doesn't matter what you said. If you say no,
it's
it's no.
no.
Or if you trust someone, who cares if you had one beer too many? Who cares if you passed out? That person shouldn't be taking advantage of you
Mm,
when that happens. And and then I went through like the process, okay, why is this happening? Now it's in my teenage years and I'm experiencing that. But again, I went to therapy. I got help with that. I found talking was very helpful for me. And at 21, I got married for the first time. Being Mexican, I thought I'm doing the right thing. this is about the time that I should have children, settle down. And the first husband I had, he um he was abusive, physically abusive. So then I went through that experience of domestic violence. Domestic violence was a big teacher for me. It was like a combination of being sexually abused, being raped, and now being physically abused. It
And
was
probably
hard.
and probably mentally abused as well.
Oh yeah, the emotional abuse.
It's mentally,
Yeah, it all comes together, right? But constantly blaming me or saying this is your fault. Um, you bring out the worst in me. I'm usually a nice guy. You're doing this. And there was a lot of dynamics that were coming around, and all of these experiences shaped me into me finding my voice. I remember I was 24 when I asked my first husband, or the first husband I had. He's not mine. He doesn't belong to me. I asked him for a divorce. I told him we should really get a divorce. It isn't healthy. And he drove me to the forest. He opened the door to the truck and he got out and he pointed a gun at me and told me if I wasn't going to be his, I wasn't going to be anyone else's. And I remember sitting in the truck thinking he could actually kill me. Like, nobody knows, nobody will know. I just went to see my family. I'm just coming back. He could claim that I never showed up at the airport. So the only thing I thought of was no matter what, do not get out of the truck, because if he does something, he needs to be accountable for his actions.
yeah.
No matter what, stay in the truck. So I stayed in the truck. I remember crying. And I remember crying because I thought, I'm not going to see my family ever again. And at least I saw them. At least I told them I loved them. And then it just becomes one of those things where it's like, what do? We just kind of wait and hope. He started crying and telling me he went through a whole roller coaster of emotions and ended up telling me he was going to kill himself, which of course, then I started telling him, you don't have to do that. Like, being transparent, I told him, go ahead. Yeah, do that. Because in my mind, I thought he's not going to do it. He's just a coward. He then started crying and saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. So I told him, if you do kill me, you're going to go to jail. Your kids are going to grow up without you. You're going to lose your businesses. This isn't a good thing. Let's just go home. I'm sorry I brought it up. You're right. We should stay married. We're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. He got in the truck. We went home. And I learned in that moment, like, the safest place sometimes is to just do nothing and stay silent. So it took about 6 months, and I'm kind of rushing through the whole story because I could sit here for hours. But eventually, he met someone else, and he lost interest in me, and that's how I managed to get out of that relationship. So I was 24. I was 25 when I moved back to my parents' house to go back to university, and I
Mhm.
started working at a shelter for domestic violence victims. I wanted to I wanted to help them the way I wish somebody would have helped me.
Let me just ask you, because in as you were talking, you said to him that if he would go to prison and the children would be without him. How many children at that time did you have?
They were not mine. They were his kids from his previous marriage. He had a
Okay.
little boy and a little girl. And
Oh,
actually it was a little girl that inspired me to leave. She
okay.
started getting closer to me. She was only a toddler. She might have been like 3 at the time. And I started noticing that her brother was starting to be mean to her.
Mm,
And I realized I'm actually showing them that that's okay by
yeah,
staying here. And I can't do that to her
yeah. The
because he
way
wasn't mean to them.
the way your husband treated you, they were seeing that. So the
Yeah.
boy thought, he's a boy, she's a girl, I can do the same thing. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought to myself, even if it's scary, I can't do that. I cannot contribute to this
Mm.
little girl's experience of life, thinking it's okay to allow someone to hurt her, and for
Yeah,
a little boy to see it's okay for his dad to hit a woman, like that's not okay. So
no,
I thought to myself, they seem okay here. He's not mean to them. All of that anger is more geared toward me, not them. If I leave, they'll be okay. They have a mom, they have a dad. I cannot stay here and mirror that to them. You
yeah,
know, because kids will do what you do. They're constantly watching.
yeah, and they copy.
Exactly. And when I started seeing that behavior, I had a responsibility
Yeah,
to how was I going to contribute either by doing something or not doing something
yeah,
to the future of those kids.
mm,
So when he finally, he met someone else and he agreed to let me go, I went back to school. I went back to university, and I've always felt that I'm here to do something. That these experiences, even though they're painful, they're
hmm,
here to help people. And I started working at a shelter, and I used to work overnight so that I could go to school in the mornings. And I met some amazing women, amazing, beautiful women that would come in, usually in the middle of the night with their kids, their belongings, some of them nothing but a blanket for their babies. And I got to hear their stories. And I remember before I took the job, I thought to myself, this is either going to break me or it's going to help me,
hmm,
because I'm going to go there and I'm going to either relive my moments or I'm going to choose to be there for these women. And I'm
hmm.
grateful that I was able to be there for the women. So when they would tell me their stories, there was never judgment because I've been there. I know what
Yeah,
that's like.
you understood.
Yeah. I was never asking them, why are you going back? It was none of my business. I went back,
Mm.
and I never judged them with, why did you wait so long? Because I know the first time I asked, I almost got killed. So,
Yeah,
no.
takes courage.
Yeah. And it takes time sometimes, and we only know, each one of us as individuals, we are the only ones that know the truth of our experience
Mm.
from our perspective in
Yeah,
every moment. No one else knows.
especially if it's abusive, physically abusive. It's terrifying,
Definitely. Definitely. And it took
terrifying.
a while. People ask me, why did you wait so long? Because I was there for 3 years. And there was a whole process
Yeah,
of my coming home to myself. It was a whole process of, if I get divorced, what does that mean? I didn't want to shame my family. I didn't want to be the first one in my family to get divorced. I'm the oldest one in my generation.
hmm.
And I was literally the first one to start the divorce thing. After that, a few other of my cousins and aunties got divorced too.
You
Um,
showed the way to be brave
well,
and stand up for themselves.
yeah, part of it is like, if we look around when we're living life and we feel stuck or we feel like we can't make a decision, a lot of the times it's because we're considering what people are going to say about us, what they're going to think about us. And that's why we hold back. If there
Yeah,
was no judgment, we would be more empowered to be like,
yes,
forget this, I'm leaving this job, I'm leaving this relationship, I'm stopping this, you know?
yes,
But as human beings, we're designed to connect, to be social.
mm,
And when we lose connection to ourselves, we depend on that connection of other people and their
yeah,
perspective and their
yes,
opinion, right? And those people, they're looking at us from their own perspective of their experience and their perspective,
yeah,
right? So we're never actually looking at people from the beginning from their perspective. We're looking at them from what happened to us. Even I, in the
yes,
shelter, I saw these women like, I know what that's like. I'm not going to judge them. I
mm,
had women that would say, you might think I'm stupid because I'm going back home. And I would tell them, no, I think you're doing what you think is right for you. And if it doesn't
mhm,
work out, you can always come back.
yeah,
That's it. And maybe
yeah,
one day you'll decide that's it, and then that's it. But you won't know
That's it.
until you try. And it can be
No,
painful, but some people would say, oh, poor women. And I would tell them, there's nothing poor about these women. These are one of the most strongest individuals,
mm,
you know, to be experiencing that and to stay as stable as possible, trying to figure out what's happening while you're being emotionally abused, physically, psychologically, spiritually,
mm,
financially, all kinds of abuse, and to still find a way to breathe and try to understand what's happening, that takes a lot of courage, a lot of
it-
tenacity.
especially when you say to stay as stable as possible. And it is about having all that coming at you, and you are energy and it's shaking you, but you have to stand firm and be focused in order to think what I need to do and not to crumble. It takes
Yeah.
courage.
And to learn discernment, like if someone's constantly telling you you're stupid, this is your fault, to learn to differentiate between what's their perspective from manipulation, from anger, from whatever, and
Yeah.
what's your perspective. Am I stupid? Am I the one causing this? And it
Hmm.
invites us to really look at ourselves, and it invited me to look at myself, and it invited me to see, what do I want from here? Because that is what led me to the divorce. I said, okay, I grew up hearing the phrase, marriage is hard. Marriage is hard. You just have to, get through it. It's not easy. Relationships are hard. And I was thinking, that's not my definition. I don't want a relationship to be hard. I want it to be easy. I want it to be fun. I want to live life in a good way. People are like, oh, life, we come here to suffer. No, we don't. We come here to enjoy it. Like creator, God, the universe, whatever we want to call it. I'm sure it gifted us this opportunity. We chose this opportunity to really
That's right.
embrace the fullness of life. Yes, there's bumpiness in it.
Yes.
Just like with anything, we eat our favorite food, we eat too much of it, our tummy is gonna hurt. But we learn through that, right? We remember through that. And then if
Yes.
we choose to do it again, that's still a choice. We're
Yes.
still living fully.
Until we've learned the process, understood the process, and we're ready to move on. It will keep on coming back until we learn, until
Yeah,
we know the rules and what to do, and then we can move on.
exactly, exactly. So, me working at that shelter was one of the most amazing, beautiful parts of my experience. Um, I met so many little children, and I met many women. It was mainly women that would come in from all ages, all walks of life. And I saw a reflection of myself in all of them in some way, shape, or form, whether it was age or patterns or looks or, background, like geographical background, education, just so many things. And it reminded me of how connected we are. When one of us
Yeah.
speak, we speak all together.
Yes.
And so that was my first ages of life coaching. I was doing it without realizing I was doing it, because I was never there to tell them what to do. I was there to listen and ask questions, and create a space where they felt heard, and they felt seen, and they felt valued, and they felt like they belonged, and they felt like where they could be themselves, and it was okay
Yeah.
whatever they said. Um, at university, I started international business, so I wanted to study. I wanted to work in another country, so I actually moved to Germany, and I had a blast. I was, 27 at the time. I spent 2 semesters there. I met amazing people, again, from all over the world, from, Taiwan, Portugal, Poland, Spain, the US, everywhere, you name it, they were there. And I got to experience my freedom. I got to experience, what can Ibeth do on her own? What can she do free? And I went as far as I could, and Germany was my place. And, in my spiritual journey at that time, I was spending so much time with myself that I was really tuning into my intuition
Mhm.
and trusting. No matter how weird it felt, I was going with it. For example, I took a train. Something inside me, a little voice, I call it my inner voice, was saying, take this train to Berlin. And I'm like, I don't know. Okay. So I got in the train, and it was an overnight train. So I got to Berlin. I didn't speak German. So, I woke up and it's like, we're, something, something Berlin. And I'm like, okay, get out of the train. I get out of the train and I'm walking and I'm like, okay, where do I go? And, I'm asking myself, and this little, my heart is responding. And so my heart is saying, turn left, go straight, walk here, walk. And I'm just following. And I stop in a park and I feel it. And if you're listening and you're visualizing this with me, you're probably going to be like, oh, I know what she's talking about because you probably felt it too. I felt it. There was this knowing, like, I know this place.
Ah,
I've been here before.
mhm.
I can feel it in my bones. I can feel it in the earth. I know there's a part of me here. And then I asked my heart,
Yes.
have I been here before? And it said, yes, keep walking
Yeah.
straight and you're going to see a big tree that looks like it. Started describing, like I started seeing the tree before I actually got to the tree. So I started walking, I turned left, and there it is. And I started crying. And in that moment, I made a commitment to myself. I called it, I'm going to find the pieces to my soul. I'm going to piece myself together. I got this. And I'm going to go wherever my heart tells me. And I'm going to do whatever my heart says because it's bringing me home. I've been home. This is a home. And I met my second husband there. He and I are still friends. We got divorced not too long ago because we started drifting in different ways. And his purpose and his vision of life was slightly different than mine. And like I said, we're here to be happy. So we both agreed, then maybe this is as far as we go as a married couple, but we can still be friends. And to this day, we're still friends. Germany was big for me. I spoke the language. I started learning it. I lived it. It was my home. And when my husband decided that he wanted us to move to go to England, I was devastated because I was like, I just got home. But he was like, I want to experience what it's like to live in another country. So I told him, okay, let's go. So we moved to England. That's how I ended up in London. And London was amazing. It was scary. It was uncomfortable. It was alive. It was beautiful. It was everything in one place.
Everything mixed up in one.
Yeah, it was. For me, it was like, okay, this is fascinating because I got there and there was so much diversity and so much liveness, and you didn't have to wait long to party. It was lunchtime, people already having a beer and wine. Sure, why not? It's like business meetings, let's go for it. So much volunteering, so much opportunity to connect with people. And we stayed there in London for 2 years and I found a job and then it didn't feel comfortable. So I told him we need to move. So we moved outside of the city into a village close to Oxford. And then I felt home again. So in that part of my journey, I'm realizing, what do I need to feel at home? And what I started to realize is I was needing nature. I was needing the trees, a slower pace. I was needing the safety of getting up and going out and just smell the trees and feel the wind, hear the birds. And so I did that. We did that. And, I'm grateful again that with my second husband, he was so open to just, sure, let's do that. Sure, why not? And it was in that moment when I started feeling presence. Like my grandmother transitioned when I was 17, and she raised me, so she was a big, big part of my life. But I could feel her around, and I started to listen to that part of me that believed in energy, in spirits, in connection. And I started going to these circles, these meditation circles, and that unlocked everything for me. I started remembering abilities that I have, the gifts that I have, lifetimes that I've lived. I started remembering joy and pain. And I started having clarity on what I'm here to do, which is to serve humanity, to help people. And like we always say, we first have to help ourselves. So I kept showing up for myself, like, okay, now what? Now what? I started remembering the drums. It was through one of the circles that, we were doing a guided meditation, and there were instruments on the table. And that lady said, come and pick up the instrument that calls you. And I saw one drum, and I wanted it. And I thought, no, because everyone's going to want it, right? So I sat there quietly. I was like, I'll wait, I'll wait. And next thing I knew, nobody took it. And I was like, it's my drum. So I picked it up and I started drumming. It was it was fascinating. It was the small moments that felt so powerful, that felt weird, that felt random, that have opened up the space so that the piece can fit. And then I can feel like, yeah, this is me.
The energy
Um,
flowing.
exactly. We lived in that town for 3 years, and then I got tired. I had an experience in Cornwall. I went there for a cottage, and it was amazing until I started having visions that I died there once, and I was like, oh, I don't think I want to be here anymore. So
Oh
the
my
reason I'm sharing this, I know the reason I'm sharing this is because if you're listening to this and you're experiencing things that are a little out there, you're not alone. And I'm sharing this with grace and with fun, because at the moment it felt like, what? I don't want to be here. It's like someone killed me here. I don't want to be here. And I remember telling my ex-husband, I was like, we need to leave. I don't feel safe here anymore. So we left and we came
to
to
go.
we came to Canada. So yeah, so I've been in Canada now almost 10 years. And it was here where my ex-husband and I separated, and I started focusing a lot of innovation when we first came to Canada. My whole focus, my whole purpose of coming here, and his, because we work together, was to create an innovation place. So now I started working really intensely with corporations, specifically in insurance. And I asked my heart, I asked my inner voice, what am I doing here? And the voice said, you're here to help people remember how to be human again. Because part of innovation is to be empathic. We empathize to create a customer experience.
Yeah.
And to do that, you have to go back to feeling, to paying attention to the needs of the others.
Yes.
And I specifically work in the insurance industry, which is not the most known industry for having feelings
To
or
being
emotions for the others.
empathy with,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Not much
And
empathy.
no, and you know what? I'm really, really grateful that I have experienced, the rapes and the domestic violence, because especially the domestic violence really reminded me of empathy, and empathy without judgment, unconditional love.
Mm.
Because I had done that with that community, sitting in front of insurance people made it so much easier.
Mm.
I had no judgment for them, you know? And what I came to
I like the way you said that.
this Which part?
But you said it made it so much easier in front of these insurance people
Oh, yeah.
because they're quite, it's this is it, that is it. No, no, no. It's all about making money and making sure they can get what they want, and there's no leeway.
And that's the interesting part. I showed up with curiosity. I showed up with, okay, I understand most of the insurance industry has a really bad reputation, but I wanted to understand the people, not the industry.
Hmm.
And when I showed up with that mindset as a coach, I got to know the people. And 8 out of 10 people in the room, when I asked them, why are you in insurance? They would say, because we want to help people. And they meant
And
it. They shared stories about, how their parents were in, years ago, they would sell insurance to help the community. They would share stories about how they liked answering the phones and helping people who were feeling they were in a crisis. And I realized in that moment, as human beings, we come from a place of love. We do want to help. The industries, the labels that we have has been very misguided, and a lot of greed has taken over.
yeah,
But if we take the time to go back
yes,
to the basics, we're still talking about humans.
yes, yes. The policies are very straight, but and I understand what you're saying because I used to work in insurance myself. And when you get people phoning up with what's gone wrong, it could be a loss, it could be a car, it could be a burglary, even, and how they feel. And you do start to understand and empathize with the person on the end of the phone. But because of the industry and how it's geared and the regulations, it sometimes doesn't, it's not flexible, doesn't seem to be flexible.
Right. And that even seeing that, it's such a limiting belief, right? Because but we can change it. It doesn't have
Yeah,
to be that way. But it takes a
no,
conversation, and it takes discomfort, and it takes choosing to look like a fool, and it takes choosing to be judged, and it takes choosing
yeah,
to take a risk. So
yeah,
when I started working with them, I started sharing with them the story of me getting divorced because I had to choose to put everything at risk to do something that was going to be better
yeah,
without knowing if it was true or not, that people were going to, my family was going to disown me. I was going to maybe get killed. I took the risk because it was so worth it. I wanted to do better. I wanted to live life to the fullest. I wanted to live. So I share that story with every group session that I did when I did innovation, and I still do. It's one of the first stories I share. And in the book that I wrote, The Human Side of Innovation in Insurance, that's one of the stories I tell in there is for us to change anything, to bring positive impact into the world, we have to change the way we see things, the way we do things, the way we say things.
hmm,
And it's not going to be easy and it's not like a party. It's going to feel uncomfortable, but it's so worth it because as long as we're doing it from a place of good intention, of
yeah,
love, we're going to make it because we're going back home.
yes. We're returning to who we really are and being authentic, of remembering who we are and not playing that role, being that role, being
Stepping
that
into
person.
it, like stepping fully into our essence. It's almost like, we have a heart, we have our breath, we have this feeling, this essence of purity and love, and it always goes back to love.
Yes,
And we
yes,
forget, we experience so many things because part of this life is to experience it. And it's almost like go on and experience it and remember to come home. Remember to
Mm.
come home.
Yes, remember to come home.
And we can do that. There's different ways to do that. We can do that through gratitude.
Very much so.
Every morning, what are you grateful for? Every evening, what are you grateful for? Just before you go to bed, even if it's to say, I'm grateful for my pillow, just feel the gratitude. And in the mornings, if you're like, oh, I'm grateful I have a bathroom because I have to pee, be grateful for your bathroom. Just be
Yeah,
grateful.
yeah,
And yeah, so coaching, life design, innovation is a big thing for me. Innovation, in my definition, is creativity. And creativity means creating something. Therefore, we're constantly creating, we're constantly innovating. You and I are creating a moment right now, an experience
yeah,
for ourselves. We're creative. People are like, oh, I'm not creative. Of course we are. We're constantly creating things. We go on vacation, we forget our belt. We get creative to figure out how we're going to hold our pants up or our
yeah,
trousers in this case. Right? We are cooking our favorite meal and we forget a spoon. We get creative and figure out how we're going to stir that. We're not going to let it burn.
mm,
We're constantly, it's part of our design because, there's a lot of different ways of calling this higher power, whether it's God, the universe, creator, whatever we call it. It created us to a certain degree. Therefore, if we are part of it,
we're
that is a creator of everything, why wouldn't we
we
be
creative,
creative?
um, and and powerful as well,
Oh yeah,
and
this is.
powerful.
Oh yeah, I mean, literally everything. Okay, first of all, every breath is literally creating life. That's already like, hello.
Oh,
And then through that, every word is creating a poetry, a story, a song, an experience that just vibrates.
yes,
Therefore, everything we do, we're contributing to this immense experience that we're in. And it's coming back to us because we're part of it. It's not like we're just gonna say it and it's gonna go out. Oh, it's gonna ripple and it's gonna come back because we're in it.
and what we need to remember is that it is part of us. We're in it, and we've actually created the situation that we find ourselves in. And it's a journey, a continual journey. Just as when you went to Germany and you felt, my gosh, I've been here before. And it's not in this lifetime, it's in a previous lifetime. And just as when you went to Cornwall and you went to the cottage and you thought, and you picked up, it wasn't in this lifetime, it was in a previous
Yeah.
lifetime. So we are, we can never not be, we just change form. We can, once we've been created, we can never not be, we just change form. And
Mhm.
from then, it is an experience. It's not a punishment, but everything that we do or we experience is for a reason. And what we do or create, we also have to experience. So we have to be very careful what we do and what we create,
Mhm.
because it will come back. And if it's good, fine. And if it's not, it's a lesson learned.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why innovation is it's such a beautiful, powerful tool. And for those people, because I have sat with teams where there's, people, most of the time they're in high roles like executives who tell me, yeah, the whole universes and lifetimes, I don't believe in that. I'm like, okay, well, let's stick to this one. I'll give you an example. I'm really good at connecting things. So we don't even have to go into like different lifetimes. If you don't believe in that, that's cool. You don't have to. That's the beauty of perspectives. We don't have to agree with them. There's a possibility of infinite things.
Yes.
But let's play with it now. You were born right now. Let's say you're in your 50s. Between you were born and in your 50s, you experience different moments, in a sense, a different personality, because you're constantly evolving.
Yes.
There's an essence of you, and then there's this shifting and morphing of your being, adapting. In high school, you behaved a certain way. In university, you shifted a little bit more. In your first work or your first job, you were a different person. When you became an executive, you completely changed.
Hmm.
And even people will say, oh, yeah, that was another lifetime ago when I used to work in that company. Now in this company, I'm like, you still use the reference of lifetimes because it doesn't have to mean millions of existences. We can just talk with the roles. In this case, we can use that, that word, the roles that you played to support you to adapt to your new environment, to support you to become the person you are now, to support
Yeah.
you to continue as you keep becoming something else,
Yeah.
right? So it's just it's fascinating when
It's
we
fast.
look at it that way.
Yeah. So, Ebeth, your experiences, as we can see, as painful as they've been in the past, has put you. I was going to say unfortunately, but it's not unfortunately. It was part of your journey to understand and create the things that you find yourself doing today. Your innovation, your coaching, you've written books, and these experiences are helping you to help others. What do you find when you are reaching out to people, when you are sharing those things with people in today's present time? What do you find is the most, I suppose, what do I want to say? What do you find is the most things that you've probably shared with people that you find people as a whole resonate with?
Definitely the connection to self. Because whether you're wanting to be successful at work, or you want your team to be successful, or you want to be more successful in your own life, in relationships, or with your children, it's about going back to your truth. What does that mean for you? How is that in alignment with your core values? And we don't know, we don't have these answers until we find and honor that connection with ourselves, to listen to ourselves, what feels right for us.
Mm.
Um, that resonates with a lot of people. When I put it that way, they're like, okay, let's give this a try. And there's different modalities that you can use to get you there. Some people use movement, yoga,
Yeah.
dance. Some people use meditation. Breath work is big. I do a lot of group breathwork facilitations in person and virtual. I do breathwork coaching because through the breathing, we can actually achieve a place of connection with ourselves. And
Mm.
then we ask the questions, and then you have more clarity on what's moving through that you can discern, is that coming from me or from an expectation?
Mm.
Same in the corporate world. When we're getting creative, is this idea or is this solution coming from you, or is it coming from the outside world? What's expected of you? Is it coming from the person you heard saying, I need that? Or is it coming from the customers say they need that, but our bosses says we have to make money,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So it always go back to the truth and in connection to self.
And from the when you see from the time you started to now, has there been a shift, or do you find there's been more of awakening, that people are more willing to listen to their inner self, to understand about that inner power.
Yes, I feel, and this is just my belief and my perspective, that in the last 6 years, a lot has shifted, a lot has moved. And, the situation where many people were forced to stay in their homes and not go out, it opened up an opportunity to connect with ourselves. And a lot of people struggled
Yes,
because
because we
they
were
forgot
forced
what
to.
that was like. Yeah, because they're not
Mhm.
used to that. They didn't have that relationship with yourself. But many of us took it as an opportunity to
Yeah,
remember who we were, right? And one of the most powerful relationships we have in this world is a relationship with ourselves, loving ourselves.
those.
The goodies
Yeah,
and the yuckiness, loving ourselves when we're angry and loving ourselves when we're sobbing, and also loving ourselves when we're being like a total goofball, humiliating ourselves and just having fun. Loving all of that. And as a result of that, I feel more and more people are remembering and are being invited. We can't hide from it anymore. And social media has played such a big role. It can be a distraction, but it can also be an opportunity for so many things to flash in front of the humans that now they can't hide. You're seeing words, you're seeing people, breathwork, healing, retreats, um,
it's
shadow
growing.
work, all of these things. Like if you're not listening, I'd be like, whoa, that's pretty intense because it's in everybody's face right now. So it is
Yes,
an opportunity for us to choose what are we actually listening to and what is in alignment with our heart, with our soul, with our spirit. So I definitely feel there's been more awakenings, which is why I do feel some of us are invited to step up and support our fellow humans.
yes. Oh, yes. I'm glad you said that because so many people I talk to, like yourself, we're light workers. We have seen that shift, particularly, I mean, in the last 20 years, actually, it's been growing. But since we had that big awakening in 2020, as you said, it forced people to be still, to be isolated, and in that isolation to go within. And that was a big awakening. And in some people, it was very, very, very uncomfortable, but some it really shifted and opened their eyes to stop and think. It made people stop and think, be still and calm. Ibeth, so you've come a long way with your businesses and with your book. Can you, if people wanted to connect with you, um, how can they do that? Do you also do work online? And what type of things do you do? Because it is, what how you've spoken and what you've said, I'm sure, I say I'm sure because it's coming up more and more. A lot of people have gone through things in their early life that they've hidden, but now because it's been talked about, there it allows them to also talk and bring out their pain. And it's good that we are talking about it. How can people connect if they needed to with you?
Definitely. So yes, there's different things that I do. I have two books that are published. You can find them on Amazon. If you Google Ibeth or if you put on Amazon Ibeth Ayala, there's only one. I'm just saying. And
The
there's
one and only.
there's only one. There's only one. I'm the one. And so if you type on Amazon Ibeth Ayala as you see it written on the description here, you'll see two books. There's one called No Risk, No Fun: The Human Side of Innovation in Insurance. I have it in English and in Spanish. That one focuses on corporate. So the things that I do for corporate people is team coaching, innovation coaching, breath work for those. There's certain companies that are very open to doing holistic things. Breath work is definitely one thing that does that. I've worked with executives to help them manage their burnout and their stress levels through the breathing. So it's definitely a good tool. And then there's another book called From the Ground Up: Design a Life You Love. That one is more for anyone that wants to focus on their personal journey And in the book, I share a framework that I've been using since I was 24, since the first time I got divorced. And it has helped me design a life that I love, meaning I take ownership. This is my life. I'm the creator of my life, and this is what I want to experience. And I get to do it. And it's not something that you do once and you're like, done. No, you keep doing it and you just get better at it. And it always goes back to learning who you are, what matters to you now, doing an assessment, an inventory of the grounds. It's almost like if you're going to build a home, where do you want to build it and how do you want it to look like? How much light do you want? How many windows do you want? All that kind of stuff. And for that, I do an online program. It's called Design a Life You Love. And it's a 6 to 8 week program. It depends on how intense the group wants to be. So if you're a more slow it down, slow is easy, it's better. We
Mhm.
do 8 weeks. If you're like, I want it now, we go in 6 weeks and move that. I work virtually and in person. And so if you go onto my website, you'll see that different things it'll give you the options of what we can do. Once a month, I offer a by donation only breathwork session. It's 90 minutes just so you can experience breathwork and you can experience who I am. And people sometimes just want to come in just to breathe, to remember what that's like. And you
Mhm.
give a little or as much as you can. If you don't have money to donate, then I just ask that people donate a can of dog food or something to us. Just give something to the world, right? Doesn't necessarily have to come to me. So those sessions will be online available. And next year, I'm planning on doing retreats, doing more in person. One specific is for people that are going through burnout, and we're
Mhm.
focusing our time in nature. Nature is here to help us. The trees are here to remind us how to ground ourselves. The birds are here to sing to us so we can regulate our nervous systems. And in that process, you get to talk to yourself and you get to reconnect with yourself to understand what's going to help you move through this stress, through this burnout. Why are you feeling that way, right? And for the other people that are focusing on their own design, we'll be doing a similar thing, but it's focusing on piecing yourself together and listening to your intuition, stepping into that weirdness of this is a little weird. I had a dream and it came true. You're with the right people. We got you. We'll remember how to step into that and honor that gift and how to work with it so that you can continue to do amazing things in the world because we're all sharing this space. So yeah. All
And
of
we
that
all,
is a website. So there's my website.
okay.
It's Innovision, like innovation, but it's an vision because it's an innovative vision dot coach.
Mhm.
And I'm on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, depending on what you need. You'll get to.
Okay.
So if you're on LinkedIn, you're not gonna see all of these parts. I'm just gonna talk to you with what you need, so you don't have to feel overwhelmed. If you're on Facebook, I'm talking a lot about life. Different roles in different spaces, right? We adapt to make it.
Yeah, great. So before we say thank you for your time, will you leave us with a little golden nugget that may help us just to find our way? Some little gold nugget of advice that you can leave our listeners with.
Definitely. So I'm going to give you something very practical. It's nice to give inspiration, and it's also better when we give practical. So as a breathwork coach, there's different breathing techniques that we use to ground ourselves. And right now, sometimes it feels really overwhelming to ground ourselves. So I'm going to leave you with a breathing technique, which is just breathing in for 4 and breathing out for 4. And those 4 seconds can be your own count. Don't listen to the clock because we're all move different. We're all different organisms. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, if you're feeling a little stressed, just taking in a breath through your nose only and just exhaling through your mouth to the count of 4 and in again and out through the mouth. And if you do that a couple more times, you'll slowly start finding that you're grounding yourself. Some people will tell me, I don't have time to breathe when you're taking a shower. In the morning when you take your first pee, breathe. Take a pee
Or even
consciously.
pee consciously through your with your breath, not through your breath,
Yeah,
with your
exactly. Please, let's clarify that. Humor is important. Laugh. Please laugh.
even even before you get out of bed, you can do
Mhm.
that. Just well, get up from bed and just sit on your bed, feet on the ground. You can do that to start your day.
And if you
Ibeth,
really
thank you.
want to maximize it, go next to a tree and just close your eyes. You don't have to talk to the tree. You don't have to
Oh,
hug the tree. The breathing will do what it needs to do. Just breathe. Just breathe, please.
oh
Because if
yes,
anything,
very
let's
much so.
this is why it's important.
Ne-
If anything ever happened and all of our technology went down and we had no power, the only thing that's going to save you to stay sane and aware is knowing how to breathe.
True, true. Ibeth, thank you so much for this. And to all my visitors looking here today, thank you for joining us. I will be putting up Ibeth's websites on my write-up, so you will get it. So for now, here from London, thank you for joining us and goodbye. Ibeth, thank you from where you are in Canada.
Southern Ontario.
Southern Ontario. Mm. Take care. Thank you, everybody. Bye for now. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.